Welcome to TFP, the Theatrefolk podcast. I am Lindsay Price, resident playwright for Theatrefolk. Hello, I hope you're well. Thanks for listening. Today, we're going to talk about a huge pet peeve of mine about the origin of the creative process. But first, let's do some Theatrefolk news. Did you catch our first newsletter of 2013? Why So Emotional? A Guide to Highly Charged Scenes. It's an interesting one. I find it interesting. It's about how you can avoid, through rehearsal and exercises, lots and lots of exercises, an overwrought, over-emotional performance when you are performing something emotional. I think there's tons and tons of books and people who speak to and systems on how to achieve emotion in a scene. How do you get to that place? But what about what happens when it goes awry, when it becomes too much? When it's about the raw cathartic experience for the actor, but actually shuts out the audience or leaves the audience hiding under their seats? We have all seen at least one, and I know I have seen many more than one productions that went just way too far in its emotional expression. So that's what we're exploring in this newsletter, about how we can sort of focus it, channel it, making it experience for the audience. That's our job, to connect to the audience. And lastly, where can you find this podcast? We post new episodes every Wednesday at theatrefolk.com and on our Facebook page and Twitter. You can find us on the Stitcher app, and you can subscribe to TFP on iTunes. All you have to do is search on the word Theatrefolk. Episode 24. Emotional trauma equals creativity? So you have to go up on the end so that you know it's a question. Or perhaps I didn't need to go up on the ends on every single word in that sentence. In any case, when you think of the artist, when you visualize him or her, the painter, the singer, the musician, the poet, the playwright, the dancer, the artist, so that's the all-encompassing word for artist, where do you think their creativity comes from? Is it magical rainbow unicorns? Is it luck? Is it something you're born with? Is it something you feel that is beyond you, that you could never do? I couldn't do that. I'm not creative. Or is it something more practical, more mechanical? Is it craft-driven? Can you learn creativity? And lastly, does creativity come from a certain place? A happy place or a very unhappy place? From pain? From emotional trauma? Is pain necessary to being creative? So Jean-Paul Sartre, y'all hear, look at me, I'm all fancy and swishy. I'm quoting from Jean-Paul Sartre. I'm probably saying his name like totally wrong too. Anyway, okay, so he once said, suffering is justified as soon as it becomes the raw emotion of beauty. Anyway, that's what he said. There you go. Do you believe that? Do you believe in the tortured artist phenomenon? Is there such a thing? This is a notion that comes up all the time, right? Time and time again, because there are many who do believe the image. Tortured artist, crazy artist. He's just like that. He's an artist. I'm not like that. I'm not an artist. I couldn't write or paint or make music unless I have that darkness, that Dexter, if you watch Showtime, the dark passenger in my life. The image sticks around and has stuck around for centuries because, well, it can work. It is a gateway. A tortured artist uses their pain as a jumping off point for something creative, and it creates. It works. It's not a one-time fluke. It's worked time and time and time and time again for artists in a vast variety of mediums and methods. Pain can be, for some, a huge influence on the creative process and, in fact, produce work that is not therapy, but vivid and engaging and alive. Right? I did a little looking around on the internets for some of the more famous tortured artists. And I'm going to say that my personal definition of what a tortured artist is has to do with what's going on in their life, or has gone on in their life, and what's going on in their brain, right? Is it a external demon or an internal demon? And I think that in a nutshell is, to me, what defines a tortured artist. They are dealing with demons. And one of them, who I didn't know a lot about, I do know, I like her poetry quite a bit, but Emily Dickinson, boy, does she fit the bill. Apparently she suffered from panic attacks, which she called terrors. She developed agoraphobia and was afraid to leave the house. I didn't know this, actually. I didn't know anything about her. The fascinating facts go on. She would only speak to people through a closed door. She didn't learn to tell time until she was a teenager. As an adult, she only wore white. She just totally took all color out of her life. Over time, a number of deaths in her life affected her quite intensely. And she wrote, "The dyings have been too deep for me, and before I could raise my heart from one, another has come." She became quite ill before her own death, and she asked her sisters to burn all her papers after her death, which she did. But there was this one chest in which Emily did not specify what was to be done with it, and in this chest were notebooks and about a couple thousand poems. And that's why we know of Emily today, because she published very few poems in her lifetime, and yet, even though she was not very published, I think this poetry really was a creative calling for her. She would send poems to friends, and when I look at the collection, it does seem like some of the poems are just true. It's just flashes of light, words dashed off, poems just put into being. As I said, I like her poetry quite a bit, and I do find sometimes that particularly stuff from earlier centuries that rhymes gets a poor showing because it comes off as childish. Maybe that's what I think. But I think that some of her images are at times stunning. Here's one. "You cannot put a fire out, a thing that can ignite, can go itself without a fan upon the slowest night. You cannot fold a flood and put it in a drawer, because the wind would find it out and tell your cedar floor." I love the idea of a folded flood. A folded flood. That just is rock on. I love it. Okay, and this one. "I measure every grief I meet with analytic eyes. I wonder if it weighs like mine or has an easier size. I wonder if they bore it long or did it just begin. I could not tell the date of mine, it feels so old a pain. I wonder if it hurts to live and if they have to try. And whether could they choose between, they would not rather die. I wonder if when years have piled some thousands on the cause of early hurt, if such a lapse could give them any pause, or would they go on aching still through centuries above, and lighten to a larger pain by contrast with the love. The grieved are many, I am told, the reason deeper lies. Death is but one, and comes but once, and only nails the eyes." I love that. Death hitting you right in the eyes. So anyway, this is tortured artist stuff. Imagistic, great work that just that connects and hits. But perhaps a little bit of stuff going on her that she had to fight. I mean, talking only to people through closed doors. I don't like to talk to people, and yet I can still make my way out of the house. And the list goes on of tortured artists, right? Van Gogh and his ear, Sylvia Plath and her suicide, Virginia Woolf and hers, Toulouse-Lautrec had a horrible, horrible life. And the reason these folks succeed is that because the product, whatever it is that they create, it finds a connection with an audience. They, in their tortured state, whatever that may be, make great art. And we respond to great art, all of us. We all, whether we think we're creative, whether we think we're artists, whether we work construction, it doesn't matter. We will respond to anything that connects to our core, to our soul, to our way of thinking, our own experiences, our own pain. And that is the ultimate goal of our work as artists. Find an audience, communicate with them, connect. This is something that I was thinking about too, as we continue on with this. Just because when I was researching famous tortured artists, does a tortured artist have more cachet if they lived in a time where they weren't successful in their life? Like Emily Dickinson, who only published a couple of poems before her death. I think the story is go on and on and on. You know, someone who was this brilliant, quote unquote, artist and then hasn't really been popular until they died. You know, when their work carried on, and after their death, which was usually young and usually painful. And I wonder, too, if late 20th century and 21st century, quote-unquote, tortured artists are less impressive than those from the past. Because we have now, at this exact time, we have such access to a community. We don't have to feel alone. We have an instant access to a larger community that doesn't require leaving the house. That we have an access to a community of customers, and we can cut out the middleman easily and communicate our art directly. Or do I think this because when I was, looking around for those quintessential tortured artists, what came back was name after name from the distant past. Or maybe that's what I was just looking for. Maybe I have less sympathy for modern artists who succumb to their demons because we live in, again, a society where we have a possible connection. We have a community. We can find other people who think like us. We have help. Help surrounds us. We have the ability to address demons. And drowning your demons with drugs and alcohol just is not impressive. And I have to say, to me, this is me, all me talking. I don't find it an impressive means of addressing your demons. Was Amy Winehouse a quintessential tortured artist? So a lot of questions. And I have no answers. I have no definitive answers. Why would I? Because at the heart of it, I don't know what makes a tortured artist because I have never been one. So how on earth could I determine who gets in the club and who doesn't? And this is where we get to the crux of what I wanted to talk about today. Is the artist who has never felt pain, and when I say pain, I mean the very specific pain that comes to tortured artists, I cannot say that phrase, tortured artists who suffer demons, those that either manifest physically, that come at them, crappy childhood, etc., or internally manifest in their heads, is the artist who has never used pain as a generator of creative material less creative, less capable of great work. That, of course, is really what I'm getting at and why this image is a big pet peeve of mine. I'm not a tortured artist. Never have been. And bearing any future calamities, which could certainly come my way, but I haven't yet been able to figure out how to see the future, I'm not going to be a tortured artist. I am not someone who takes pain and puts it into my writing. I have issues, I have flaws, I have concerns, I have troubles. I don't have any demons. There have been moments where I wanted to take something I was feeling, something I'm going through, and put it into a play, but not so much that because I needed to purge something out of me, not because it was necessary to my survival that I do something creative. It was mostly because it's something that I wanted to share. I've never had to wrestle a demon through a creative venture. So, why does the tortured artist image bother me? Is it because maybe it hits too close to home? A little too close for comfort, a little too close to the bone. This idea that creativity only comes from pain, from emotional trauma. And one can only be a great artist if one is going through trauma. And then maybe because at the heart of it, I'm not all that creative. Am I destined to only be an okay writer and never great? Now, that is a question I do not want to know the answer to. Don't email me. Don't call me. Really? I don't need you to tell me. I don't want to know, right? Hey, Lindsay, you are only an okay writer. You will never be great. That is something no one wants to hear. Yeah? That is something that nobody wants to see embroidered on a tea towel or stuck in a frame on a wall. You are only okay. You will never be great. Okay. But let's say it does hit close to home. Okay? Let's say that. 2 things. Our 2 weapons are surprise and fear. And ruthless efficiency are 3. Okay, wait. What is this? The Spanish Inquisition? All right. Okay. 1. Sorry. Is being a great artist and being creative the same thing? I don't think so. People are creative every day, all day. Thinking outside the box, even a little bit, is creative. Creative is not necessarily huge. There are a million different ways from the minute to the epic. Number 2, I believe that to say creativity comes from a thing, one thing, pain, and just that single negative expression is kind of limiting. There's nothing else that brings work to life. I can't subscribe to that. And further, which I suppose is number 3, our 3 weapons are, number 3, to say that you can only be creative through pain, doesn't that cheapen the effort that many, many artists put into their work, the craft? People work hard on their craft to bring art to life. People go to school to learn craft to bring art to life. The techniques and the tools of the creative endeavor are a part of being a successful artist. I believe that. I live it. I believe in the craft of writing in combination with my instinct as a creative person, thinking outside the box to bring my plays to life. That's what I do. And numero 4, well, I certainly believe in the greatness of pain-filled work. I have seen and I have experienced work that has come from pain, and I have acknowledged and I know that it is great. But I call bull on the greatness that only comes from pain-filled work. Because greatness, I think, is defined by the impact art has on its audience. That's what makes a work great. How it is perceived and absorbed. How it stays. And I know that for my audience and those who put up my plays, the fluffy ones and the serious ones, the impact is phenomenal. The act of a student being in a play, any play, can have life-changing qualities. And I'm involved in that. So there. A little defensive? Yeah, a little. What are you going to do? So for me, the tortured artist is a convenient stereotype. Even if some days I would love to rely on that stereotype, I would love to be someone who everyone describes as, oh, she's just like that. Oh, she's an artist. Oh, it's okay. It would be a wonderful, wonderful explanation for when I do dumb things, when I'm not very talkative, when I won't look people in the eye, when I'm in conversation and I'm awkward. Oh, it would be such a great excuse to have everyone just say, oh, she's an artist, instead of, maybe she's just not a nice person, which is really might be the truth of the matter. It's the problem is that I'm too practical to be ever thought of as eccentric. I don't want to cut my ear off. I can leave the house. I don't like to talk to people, but I can do it. I had a very normal childhood, and I show up to meetings on time. I don't know. It seems that to have chaos, which I think that fighting demons seems very chaotic, and to have that kind of chaos surrounding the creative process it is chaos. I don't know if it helps in the long run. I don't know if that's something that can be sustained. I can see myself writing plays for the next 20 years without pause or problem. And yet, see, I say I can do these wonderful things, and yet, it still nags at me. Truly. Yeah, see, it's very defensive. Listen to that. Very defensive. You are only okay. You will never be great. That's the choice you have to make, I guess. Is it better to be a short, bright light or a long-term, utilitarian, useful, a long-term, useful, environmentally efficient light bulb? Is it better to be brilliant but miserable, or okay and wonderfully content? More questions I don't want to know the answer to. I think I just described myself as a light bulb. What are your thoughts on the creative process and the tortured artist? And that's where we're going to end. That's it. That's all. Take care, my friends. Take care.